Hello everyone, and welcome to Dandelion Lessons here on YouTube, and I want to welcome you. It is a rainy, overcast day here, and I'm looking out my studio window, and there's a very noisy blue jay at the feeder, so you might hear him. And there's a beautiful young buck. He has 6 points. It looks like 6. So he's not that young, but a couple years old. And he is eating around my garden, my herb garden. So I'm hoping he stays on the outside of it. Anyways, it's a beautiful sight. Just wanted to share that with you. Today I drew a tarot card this morning because that's sort of my habit, even for my own practice, but especially when I do dandelion lessons, because sometimes, I do these a lot, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, because I also do them on Patreon every week, and I do them on YouTube every other week. So that's a lot of things to talk about, a lot of videos to make, and sometimes I need inspiration, just like with anything else. And so I use my tarot deck and other decks that I have to sort of spark thoughts in me and feelings. And they usually bring up some things that I've been thinking about anyway, and just make them, they allow me to think more clearly about things and to think more deeply about things. And today, I drew a card from the Fountain Tarot deck, which is really my go-to deck. It has become my favorite. It looks like this on the back side. And then I drew the Three of Cups, which is a card that I really love. And I'm very familiar with this card. And I'll talk about the traditional meaning for it and then my own interpretation today, because I know a lot about the traditional meanings, but I tend to read cards intuitively just from the images and the symbols and how they reflect on my own feelings and what's going on in my life. But I also drew a card from my Mary L. Tarot. So it's Mary and then L, E-L. And the Mary L. Tarot is a really fascinating deck, and it's definitely not a deck for beginners who want to learn traditional meanings, but it's an amazing deck for intuitive work, and the artwork is exquisite. Every card is very different and like a piece of beautiful artwork. And the Three of Cups, I chose the Three of Cups because I already had it from my Fountain Tarot, and sometimes I like to see the broader picture with using both. And so the Mary L card, it looks like this on the back, the infinity symbol. And then on the front, it is this beautiful painting of a river through some green hills coming over a drop-off where it divides into 3 beautiful waterfalls. And so I think it's very applicable to the feelings that the Three of Cups gave me today. The Three of Cups in the Fountain Tarot are 3 arms outstretched. They look like feminine arms and hands, each holding a golden chalice and pouring their water out sort of into one another. So all 3 cups are filling another cup, filling each other and all spilling down. And this beautiful, dreamy, pastel, glowing light all around it. There's a real feeling of abundance here, abundance and community. So traditionally, the Three of Cups is really a card about family and friends and intimate relationships, in that sense that while we do have many things in our lives that are individual achievements, none of them could be accomplished without the support and love of our friends and family and community. And so that's really the traditional meaning of that card. Sometimes it's also a celebration, things like that. But for me today, it definitely brought about feelings of community. And the funny thing is this morning I was looking at Instagram, and I follow Carrie Ann Moss, who is a wonderful thinker, and she shares some beautiful things and beautiful thoughts. She runs a business called Annapurna Living, which I really admire. I'm not a member, but I do admire it, and I've learned a lot from following her. And today she made a post, or maybe it was yesterday, I'm not sure, but I read it today. And the post, part of the post said, it said three things. It said support one another, create community, and then expand, expand, expand. And I love that image that I get of dropping a pebble into water and watching the ripples emanate, that feeling. And when we support one another and we do create a sense of community that surrounds us, it does, our circle does tend to expand. And our how do I want to say this? That we can broadcast farther and farther the good work that we do. And that's very much sort of what I sense, even on something as silly as social media can be. Instagram, the community that I have sort of found myself in on Instagram is so supportive. It's so supportive, and it keeps expanding. And it's a really beautiful thing. If you're not on Instagram, if you're shy of social media in any way, I highly recommend it. You can follow who you want, and if you do join, connect with me, and I'll share with you some of my favorite accounts on Instagram. It is just pure inspiration for me every single day. I really can't say enough about it. I think like anything else, it depends on how you use it and what you surround yourself with. And Instagram for me is a big dose of inspiration and community and support every day. But it also has to do with our real lives, like our here in the flesh real lives that are right around us. And there is something incredibly important about the support we receive from our loved ones and friends in our community, and the love and the support and the sense of community we give back, right? And that is a very, very special thing too. So think about it in a big way, not just your family and friends and community around you, but also in the big wide world, that we now have the ability through technology and things like social media, like Instagram, we have the ability to connect, right? And who was it, the writer E.M. Forster, his famous quote, "Only connect." And that is so important to me, connecting, And I've made some tremendous friendships that I hold so dear, that are just as valuable to me and special to me as my friendships with my close friends right here where I live and throughout my life. So it can be a really wonderful thing. So back to our cards, I feel that these are very indicative of that. Not only with the three cups sort of intertwined and all spilling out and filling one another and sharing in the abundance, right? Sharing in the abundance. Oh my gosh, you guys. There's a Baltimore Oriole on my feeder right now. He is so gorgeous. I wish you could see it. Even if I put the camera, you wouldn't be able to see it. Beautiful. Sorry, I get distracted by the birds sometimes. So this card, very much about community and abundance and sharing and supporting one another, okay? And then this one is about all of those things as well, but I see that expand, expand, expand. So there's one source of loving kindness and fertility and abundance, and it flows freely through the hills and valleys. But it's one thing, but it's also separate things. Each flows individually, but they also come from the same source of life. Okay? So those are some things to think about today. And I thought for our project, I thought we would do something a little bit different. And I'm going to really use these cards as an inspiration from the colors I choose. But I think I'm gonna try something with a sky and some hills and a river splitting into three for the Three of Cups. I have some water and paper towels. I have coffee and I need a sip of it. Hold on. My yummy decaf. And then I chose my Wild Thorn paints today. I have a beautiful collection. And to me, Kim's blues and her soft grays are so ethereal. Just these beautiful, beautiful colors, some really soft, quiet, cool colors. So I thought I would use those, and also some silver and gold. So I'm using my Wild Thorn paints. Use any paints that you have. And by the way, I brought these home from my studio to show you. because I am well aware, because I have been in this situation for most of my life, that we can't all afford handmade paints at any time. That sometimes, we need to make do with what we have or find something that's more affordable for our budget at the moment. And maybe someday we can save up and buy some special handmade paints, which I highly recommend. But we can't all do that, and I'm so aware of that. And in my studio where I teach, I have many, many affordable art supplies for people to use. And I just want to show you two sets that I bought on Amazon. Both were, I want to say, like $6 or under $10 for sure. Maybe just, they were very, very inexpensive. One is by Angora. So if you go on Amazon and you search for Angora watercolors, these will come up. And this is the biggest set they make. And these colors are absolutely beautiful, and they're really, really fun to paint with. So they're perfect. They're not going to stand the test of time. They're not light fast. They're not even real pigments. They're dye-based. They're not transparent, but they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. I enjoy painting with these so much. And so these are an option for you. So these are the Angora paints, and these are perfect for more intuitive work and our meditative work and dandelion lessons and things like that. They're really beautiful. Okay, and they're paints that you could treasure just like you would treasure anything else. The colors are exquisite. And then this one, I honestly don't know. It doesn't say who makes it, which is not very smart on the part of the business. But if you go on Amazon and you search for the Angora, that's how I found these. These came up as well. So they're very similar. They're just different colors. They're just a different color palette. So between the two, it's just darn fun. Okay, so I wanted to show you those in case you were looking for some really beautiful paints for your intuitive work. So I have a very dear Chinese paintbrush. I bought it, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and I use it all the time. And it's really worn and it's really stained, and I love it. It's just very wonderful. And I just dressed it up with some of this beautiful hand-spun yarn by my friend Janet that she sent to me. And so I use this a lot for my intuitive work. And then I just have a piece of watercolor paper. It's actually not. It's a piece of charcoal paper that I've just got here on the table, just because when I'm using the kind of paper I'm going to use, you need something absorbent underneath it. And so I keep this kind of paper for that. It's inexpensive paper. And then I have here a piece of rice paper. And I'm going to actually turn it this way. So rice paper tends to curl up. I bought this at Blue Heron Arts. You can get a pretty big pack of it for a very affordable price. And then I put it on a piece of absorbent paper, and then I put crystals on the corners to keep it from curling up at the edges. Traditionally, in Chinese and Japanese painting, they have paper weights that they put on their paper. And it just keeps it from curling up. Okay, so I'm going to open my paints. I'm going to just put some music on, and I'm going to intuitively paint something, keeping in mind the Three of Cups and the abundance we talked about, and the sense of community and the supporting one another, and that feeling of expansion. Expand, 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 like Carrie Ann Moss said. Okay? Okay, so this is really beautiful. You know, what you can't see probably on the video is the translucency of this paper. When you paint on rice paper, it becomes very transparent, and the colors, um, they basically soak into the paper and start to bloom, but your brush strokes sometimes remain, which is really lovely. The metallics, the gold and the silver, just sort of sit on top, and they really, really shimmer. So it has a very sort of ethereal quality to it, not only because of the paper, but also because of the wild thorn paints. They have that sort of ethereal quality to them. And I just love this. And all the while, I had it in my heart, you know, all from the same source of loving kindness and support and community flowing together, and yet each having our separate paths. And that's kind of what I was thinking of when I was creating it. So I hope that you'll try this. You don't have to do a river and waterfalls. You can think of anything that image-wise. I just took from this card because I really like it. I really like what it represents to me. And then I thought about these soft, beautiful colors on my fountain deck card, and still that water flowing. I love that image, and I love the feeling that I get when I think about it. And so try it. If you don't have rice paper, use any kind of watercolor paper or drawing paper. It doesn't matter. This is not, we're not going to be precious with this. It is precious because it comes from our heart, but our materials are meant to be used, and just use them and just do it. The results really don't matter. It's the process of doing it. And I guarantee you something lovely will happen. And then when this dries, I can roll it up, or I can even just fold it into pieces and tuck it into a letter to someone. That's all this is about. It's really about the process and about having these thoughts and giving ourselves time to think about things that are a little bit deeper and more beyond our everyday responsibilities and lives. It's taking that time. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, the Three of Cups, sense of community, supporting one another, knowing that while we have a lot of solitary work to do, and we have a solitary life, and we have solitary achievements, none of it is possible without the love and support of our community and our friends and our family. And that's what we have to be for each other. We have to support one another, we have to create community, and we have to always think about expanding that, and expanding our hearts, and expanding our offerings and what we give to the world. Okay? I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week for an Artist for Everyone video. And if you haven't checked out Patreon yet, we're having so much fun. We're having so much fun. It's such a wonderful group of people. I'll leave a link to that in the description box in case you want to take a peek. Okay? Thanks so much.